thank all of you for being here. This is some exciting developments and news we want to sort of describe, but I want to ground us in a quote, if I may. We do not inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children. And that's very appropriate. That it's all about the youth. It's all about our future generation. I want to thank again the Seattle Public Utilities General Manager and CEO Andrew Lee and all of the staff at SPU who really had the vision, the thought, they're thought leaders. The vision for a city-owned urban tree nursery, and you thought about it, you made it happen, and now it has become a reality. I want to thank Ballard High School students and their teachers and all parts of their administration for being here today to help name the facility, and excited to unveil it today and be part of this exciting journey together. I'm thrilled to be here during Seattle Forest Week. We celebrate that for the opening of this brand new urban tree nursery. How appropriate is that? This facility will hold up to 1,000 young trees annually that will be used for the city's planting programs like trees for neighborhood and plantings in Seattle's parks and right-of-ways and more. I've got to digress from my notes, Ballard, that when I was at Garfield, a competing school no doubt, but still I was there, I wrote a poem about trees, and it was, I don't recall all the words, but the concept was trees are one of the few species that I sort of projected emotions into them. I said they don't bother anybody. All they do is help. They don't argue with anyone, and they just want to be fed and nurtured, and they'll take it from there. It was a good poem, by the way, so okay, I digress. That wasn't in my notes. Urban trees are vital for the health of our neighborhoods. They clean our air and water. They create shade to combat heat islands. They help manage stormwater to prevent flooding. I'm preaching to the choir, I know that, but I'm going to keep preaching to you because it's in my notes. They contribute to climate resilience and add character to our communities. But we can't just talk about planting the next generation of our urban forests. We also need to protect the exceptional trees we have now. And that's why earlier this month I am proud to sign an executive order that directed our city departments to develop very clear policies that preserve and are mature and outstanding trees. And so this includes new conservation easement programs, working with tribes to identify culturally significant trees and other cultural resources, and creating a pest and disease resilience plan. And I learned more about these nasty little pests than I care about in preparing that executive order. It also examines our permitting process and how we can encourage tree preservation when properties are undergoing redevelopment. And quite candidly, that's exactly why we took it upon ourselves to update the tree plan. The executive order, just to be very clear, builds on our other holistic programs and policies to reach our ambitious goal of 30% tree canopy coverage by 2037. We can do it, and we will do it. This will involve equitably distributing canopy throughout the city, and our efforts, of course, will involve the creation of our One Seattle Tree Plan, which replaces trees removed on public land on a 3-to-1 ratio. And that is unprecedented as a city policy, but we believe it's the right thing to do. It will create a 5-year establishment plan to ensure young trees can reach maturity. We used a $12.9 million grant to plant trees in under-canopied areas like Beacon Hill and the Chinatown International District. And we expanded the Trees for Neighborhood program to provide new homeowners with training on how to care for young trees planted during redevelopment. We don't assume everyone knows how to do that. Now, in closing, we can't do this work alone, and that's why all of you here are so important to the work we're trying to do. Our partnerships with community are what it's all about. I'm proud that this nursery will create an environmental education job training aspect to it for our youth in partnership with Ballard High School and Earth Corps. This space really represents our community-centered vision on something that we all can agree on that we love: sustainability, environmental stewardship, equity, and our trees. So with the opening of this nursery, we are planting roots for a healthier, greener Emerald City, and we should be bursting with pride in what we're trying to do together. So Speaking next will be Andrew Lee, our General Manager and CEO of Seattle Public Utilities. And your leadership has been awesome. And let's hear a few words from you, Andrew.
So every year, we have a group that reports to us on a study from the World Economic Forum, and they publish a global risk report. And I'm always intrigued to find out what they put as their top 10 global risks in the long term, in 10 years. This past year in 2025, they published this, and I want to read off the top 4 long-term risks. Number 1, extreme weather events. Number 2, biodiversity loss and ecosystem collapse. Number 3, critical change to Earth's systems. And then number 4, natural resource shortages. And if you haven't figured it out, all of these risks have to do with what? The environment, right? The environment. I'm going to pause actually because Bill Gates, just I think earlier this week, he put out a statement that we need to stop measuring the impacts of climate change in terms of degrees, right? And we need to start measuring the impacts of climate change based on suffering, right? Suffering to people, suffering to environment, suffering to our ecosystems. At SPU, we see the effects of climate change every single day. We see it in terms of droughts. We see it in terms of wildfire risk in our watersheds where we're having drinking water from. We see it in terms of the impacts on salmon in our creeks and our rivers. And we see it in terms of extreme weather events, flooding, sea level rise in the Duwamish. And as a water and waste utility, we are focused on advancing community and environmental health and building resilience to these changes. Which brings me to this site. This site and the Trees for Neighborhood program is an incredibly powerful example of our community joining together to put something that's going to be in the forefront of the fight against climate change. It is going to improve environmental health in our city, our region, and enable us to respond to all the environmental changes around us. I'd like to talk about this site just a little bit. If you're not aware, we're actually standing on top of Piper's Creek. Literally, Piper's Creek runs right underneath your seats. If you go to kind of the north end of the site, you can actually walk over there and you can hear it. It travels through Carkeek Park and into Puget Sound. And many of you are aware this is where salmon enter Piper's Creek and to spawn. And in fact, on November 22nd, just in about a month, I want to invite you to Carkeek Park throughout the month of November for salmon season and join our salmon celebration on November 22nd. It is on this Piper's Creek site that Seattle Public Utilities Trees for Neighborhood program will store, as the mayor mentioned, about 1,000 trees that will be planted across Seattle. And just for your awareness, if you're interested, we actually have about 150 trees today that we're willing to give out. And so I'm going to ask Bria to raise her hand. Where's Bria? Right there, Bria. If you are interested, we have sawtooth oak trees, Douglas fir, grand fir, and deodar cedar trees. So after you're finished talking, find Bria, and she can hook you up with a tree if you're interested. I do want to. I'm a geek, right? I love trees in general. I never wrote a poem about trees, but I love the fact they absorb carbon dioxide. You know this because of photosynthesis. They have tremendous benefits to stormwater. Their root structures actually absorb metals and other compounds that are harmful to the environment before it goes out in Puget Sound. They have this amazing cooling effect. I remember one biologist talked about trees as kind of a natural air conditioner. That's why when you go out into forest, it feels cooler, right? It's because of the trees and their transpiration. They serve as habitat for wildlife and insects, and then the incredible cultural, societal, personal, emotional value that trees have. So many benefits that we're trying to really reinforce here through this program. In addition, we plan on using this site to grow our community in terms of environmental stewardship. So the Seattle Opportunity Work Corps and the Dirt Corps built this demonstration rain garden that's right over here that we're going to be using to train contractors on how to build green infrastructure. This pavilion that we're standing under is going to be used for community program, and we're super excited about the partnership with Ballard High School, who will use this site to further their studies. So I'd like to close just by saying a few thank yous. First, a huge thank you to Mayor Harrell. for his steadfast support for the Trees for Neighborhood program. Yeah, let's clap, absolutely. There are so many pressing needs throughout the city, and we know those: housing, public safety, affordability. And the mayor has been an incredible advocate for all those needs and for protecting the environment and being at the forefront of our fight against climate change. So thank you, Mayor, for prioritizing and supporting this important work. Without you, this doesn't happen. I also want to say thank you to the SPU staff who created a vision for and built out this site. I want to recognize our logistics team. If you could raise your hand if you're part of the logistics team. And then also our Trees for Neighborhood program, the folks that are involved in Trees for Neighborhood, please also raise your hand. Again, these are the heroes who daily are working this fight to put more trees into our neighborhoods. And lastly, I just want to recognize our partners like Earth Corps and Ballard High School, who are going to help us operate this site. We're so indebted to your partnership, and it's going to really help advance this work. So thank you. With that, I'd like to introduce our next speaker, who is Elizabeth White from the Earth Corps.
I mean, what a fantastic day, huh? What a fantastic reason to get together. I just want to take a minute and appreciate the sun. Yeah. I'm Elizabeth White, and I'm the program director at Earth Corps, which is a local social impact nonprofit that envisions a world where all people and nature thrive together. Earth Corps and SPU go way back, and we have worked together since the 2009 launch of the Trees for Neighbors program, which is more than 15 years of collaboration. SPU has been a major supporter of Earth Corps' Green Jobs Training Corps, which creates pathways for emerging environmental leaders to gain professional skills in ecological restoration and community engagement. Our program provides paid, field-based experience for young adults from diverse backgrounds, preparing them for careers in environmental restoration, forestry, natural resources management, and community engagement. Participants practice tree planting, habitat restoration, nursery operations, and community event support, all while developing leadership and teamwork skills. In our partnership with the SPU Trees for Neighborhoods program in 2026, Earth Corps will provide year-round support for nursery operations, including tree health monitoring, irrigation, vegetation management, and tree inventory. Our crews will assist in tree receiving, tree care, and delivery, ensuring that the approximately 1,000 trees that are going to live here for a little bit will reach residents, schools, and businesses. Earth Corps and SPU will also partner to host community engagement events here at the nursery, including hands-on volunteer days and educational programming to connect you all with urban forestry and with climate resilience efforts. This work directly supports Earth Corps' mission to restore ecosystems and train environmental leaders, while advancing SPU's Trees for Seattle initiative to grow a healthier, cooler, and more equitable city. Our executive director, Christine Tang, was supposed to be here today. She completely lost her voice, and so I am here in her stead, but I wanted to bring some words from her to you. And she shared that this new space embodies Earth Corps' vision of people and nature thriving together, and partnering with SPU at this nursery helps us advance our mission to work in partnership toward environmental justice, creating opportunities for skill building in tree care fields. Every tree planted here is an investment in the community and in climate resilience, a promise of cooler neighborhoods in the summertime, cleaner air, and healthier futures for us all. Together, SPU and Earth Corps are advancing climate action and workforce development, ensuring that local environmental solutions also strengthen community resilience and equity. We are so excited to continue our partnership with the Trees for Neighborhoods program in this really exciting new way. Thank you all.
Thank you, Elizabeth. We pray that Christine gets her voice back. Can't imagine if I lost my voice. I know there are some people that work with me say they'd love it if I lost my voice. We're going to hear from some ninth graders at Ballard, and I was talking to some other kids the other day, and I don't know if this applies to Ballard's ninth graders, but I said that when you're in the ninth grade, as I was once, and many of you were, You're like a sponge. You just soak up this knowledge. You're looking for advice, and you're learning every single day. You got out of middle school, and you had to start all over again and meet new friends. But by the time you are a senior, you know everything. You've learned everything. And then as I got older, I realized they don't know everything. They're still learning. So I'd like to introduce our ninth graders, James, Ivans, Hazel, Mern, Hovannes, Mesrobian, who are ninth graders at Ballard High School, and they chose the winning name for the nursery. So come on up, young people.
We created the name for this nursery by learning its connection to our city and it's the history of the land it's built on.
We are really excited to be contributing to this new part of our community and watching it grow as we grow and learn into new adults.
Good job. Good job. You want to say anything? You want to take a shot? Just say hi. Just say hi.
Hi. We named it after the western red cedar tree. That's where the name comes from, and it's pretty cool.
See? All right. They did really well. Let's give them another hand. I asked them if they're nervous. You have to know that the number one fear that everyone shares is public speaking, and you just did a great job of public speaking. My trick is always just bluff it. That's my trick. So in closing, you did hear that you are entitled to get a tree, and we wanted to commemorate this great day. You know, I close by saying this. In the craziness that we're seeing in this world right now, the abuses coming from the White House, the abuses of due process violations, the denial of climate change, the denial that it's days like this where we remember who we are here in Seattle. We are one Seattle. We talk to one another. We do not have to disagree on everything, but we don't have to be disagreeable. We don't have to agree on everything, but we learn we learn from trees. As I started with that great poem that I wrote in high school, they don't bother anyone. They just want to help. Here in Seattle, that's what we want to do. We want to save the planet. We want to build it for our next generation of leaders and scholars. And we want to love in the process. As we could love a tree, we could love every human being. So thank you for being here. We're really excited, and let's go get some trees. All right, thank you. You guys did it, didn't they?